Welcome to Asylum Atelier, welcome to my studio, welcome to Painting Discourse. I'm happy to see you here again during this stream. I want to apologize for a delay today. I am slightly, little bit sick. You can hear it on my voice, that nasally sound. So I hope it's not going to be as annoying as it is for me, seems for you. I'll try to talk less today, which might be probably for the better than for worse. And again, I'm going to be continuing working with my ongoing projects, which is a fragment for the larger painting that I'm working on. It's a longer project, so there's a lot of stuff to cover, a lot of stuff to talk about. There's a lot of pros and cons to working in this size, but then also there is a lot of cover to ground, which is very time consuming. So at the beginning of every stream, I always encourage you to not watch this video or not watch this stream. This is not really content for you to be entertained as much as for you to be part of that discourse about the painting. And very important part of this discourse is that you create your own artwork, that you really push that, that boundary further in your own art endeavors, let's put it that way. I'm going to be working on my painting, and I want you to simultaneously work on your projects, because that's the best way how to enjoy this stream. It shouldn't be, I talk about this all the time. It shouldn't be that idea that I'm going to watch this video for a couple hours and I'm going to be able to paint. That's not going to happen. As a disclaimer, I say this at the beginning of every class. I know that some of you who watch these streams regularly, you guys are already tired of that, but that's what it is. I can't do anything for you at this distance. I can't really paint into your painting. I can't correct your work, same as you cannot do with my work. The only thing that we have is exchange the information, exchange the knowledge, and that's what this painting discourse is about. But all the questions and ideas, they are all kind of in that realm of I like to say that it's a philosophy, but then the answers are in the practice. So practice makes best, I guess. I don't want to talk too much about this because it's really not the primary focus of this painting discourse. So I'm pretty sure that you guys are already prepared with your paints, canvases, drawing boards and pencils, and everything is ready to start. And hopefully some of you are already working while you listening me to talk about my health issues and problems. But I'm still excited to be in the studio, believe it or not, even though I feel a little bit under the weather, because this is everything that I know, this is everything that I like. And I have to say that in my own experience, one of my best decisions were made under that pressure of sickness. Somehow, for some reason, I don't know, maybe you might have a similar experience, is that when I'm sick, I'm forced to think very quick. I'm forced to do or actually not I am, my brain is forcing me to create very quick, or not even create, what would I say? My brain is forcing me to think very quick because all of the power is going into healing rather into thinking, and therefore it's just somehow the brain is trying to compensate and do, let's do the best what's possible right now. And I have to say that some of my best work came out of me being sick, because the decision was there. I didn't have time to overthink every little detail, every brushstroke, and some of those brush strokes were really not coming from the head, but from that muscle memory that was just kind of, you know, like, I'm here, I need to do this, I need to paint, I need, you know, every part of my body to be part of that process. And it's really interesting to then compare these things. So maybe you have a similar experience, maybe not, but I know that the pressure that I'm under right now, it's building up. So let's do some really great adjustments to our work, and let's also enjoy that, because I'm going to certainly enjoy the beautiful day. It's a perfect weather outside, and I wish to be outside and paint outside, but I can't because I'm sick, which is the best possible excuse that I could possibly come up with. So yeah, I might be just going back and forth out of the frame, not only for checking my work, but also trying to get, it's like trying to relax a little bit and maybe blow my nose, and just, you know, so I don't really create unpleasant noises in the microphone. Enough about all these disclaimers. I want to start with that kind of a quick refresh that what was happening last week. I was working on the portraits and overall feel of a focal point after all the important elements were placed into a painting. And what I'm going to do today, I'm going to continue working with the fabric. It's starting to nicely kind of emerge from that, you know, like from those simple shapes. I am starting to see some details. I might reinforce certain shadows. I might push something a little deeper, something a little lighter, and just really fine tune these things. There are some parts that I'm really happy with. There are some parts that I'm nah, but it still need to be really thought through, and hopefully today I'm gonna get closer to that almost finish feel. I'm also want to work on the hand that is right here, because right now it lacks clarity since I put more information around. I was checking the portrait. It's still nice and that kind of a I don't want to say touch dry, but it's still malleable, so I still can work with the paint. So I'm probably going to press with my palette knife a little bit into that pigment, so it just kind of, it creates these nice happy accidents. Hopefully that will kind of connect all the pigments together, and they're not going to look that patchy as it is right now. And it's not patchy because they're like misplaced values and misplaced colors. It's more about I've really laid down the paint thickly, and right now the sun is really catching a lot of these ridges, and that impacts the feeling. So it creates a kind of a how would I put this, like that ununiform kind of a feel. But when you get closer to it, it actually, when it comes to values, it looks pretty good. When it comes to texture, it looks pretty good. It just needs to be a little bit sculpted in, would be the word, maybe? I don't know, perhaps. So I'm going to be working on that as well. And then also, I would like to continue working down down right here around this area, because I feel that that's the last piece that it's really underdeveloped right now. And that would immediately give me enormous amount of information about what to do next right here with the knees and the legs. This is really dark and dirty. I'm going to adjust it with a little bit more of a kind of a shadow color. I'm going to bring a little bit more warmth, that it's actually being reflected through, reflected from the grass. So that's kind of a I'm going to call it battle plan because I really don't feel that energetic today. Yeah, I think that that's a lot of things that I can do and adjust and make some decisions. I also see right now, because the sun is really shining in and I'm all the way back in the studio, I can see colors under the different light. So they are way brighter than they were before. And that's a good sign. That means that, I'm slowly inching towards that little more saturated painting. So it's not going to be as I don't want to say monochromatic, but as limited palette as it looked before. And by limited palette, I don't mean the limited palette that we talked about before. Is just really it felt that is just that ultramarine blue against burnt sienna kind of a feel. And that it was actually it was an accident. I was working that way because that's something that we talked about before when we talked about. Ooh, this is still really when we talked about Delacroix, and that was his kind of a approach that I think that he even in his book, one of his famous statements is that, and I'm going to paraphrase this because I don't remember the exact quote, and I should, but I don't. And it goes something like, "Give me a dirt, and I will paint sun with it. I will paint the sunlight with it." It's all about that understanding of your pigment values and chroma or temperatures, if you wish, and then also technique that you choose to. I have to point out my really bad painting Friday, where I struggled with the composition. I really struggled with everything that was happening there. And truth to be told, I think it was also due to the fact that I was starting to feel a little bit, under the weather. But it's all good. It was fun. I'm looking forward to another bed painting Friday. So I hope that you guys enjoyed as much as I did. Even though it was a really bad painting Friday. So, yeah. Okay, I see that you want to experiment that under the weather. Well, maybe it's not just, I don't want you to I don't want you to think that you are sick to the point that you can't even open your eyes. But in some of these situations, sometimes it happens that you kind of I don't even know how to describe. It's just really your body, your brain, and just your organism. It's such a sophisticated thing that really knows what kind of parts of the body need. I don't know, 100% of its attention. And when I'm sick, all of my energy goes to healing. And then your brain kind of forced me to really execute things like a la prima painting. Like I place the brushstroke, there is no time or no way for me to think it through or overthink it. It has to be there, and that's for my brain, or for the overall image. It's the only answer. There is no the long 20 hours of me rethinking whether this fold better represents the I don't know, multiverse. I don't know how to even say it. It's just sometimes I feel like that I'm going into depths of unnecessary, you know, thinking that not that it's not important, but it does not help to communicate that the message that I want to get across. So that's simplification. Like my brain, when I'm sick, is forcing me to simplify things way more and way efficiently. That's what I was looking for. Just because it wants, the brain wants to focus on healing rather than, you know, thinking about artificial topics and so on and so forth. So let me get a little bit more into what I really want to do today. I think, yeah, I'm just going to clean up the portraits a little bit. That means that, you know, I painted with the texture. Some textures I like, some textures I don't. And right now I can choose which one I like. And the ones that I like, I'm going to keep and work with them. And ones that I don't like, I'm just going to get rid of, because I don't think that they're helping. They're more than anything else, they're kind of destroying that overall feeling of, you know, roundness of the form. And I'm not necessarily scraping. It's more like I have my palette brush kind of like you're ironing a fault that you don't like. And that creates kind of, sometimes you drag the paint, sometimes you just sometimes you just press it down and fill those ridges that are around it. It's just having fun with the paint. And this is more in the, like I said, in the sculpting territory. Like sculptors probably know better what I'm talking about, or they're more familiar with. Or if you sculpt it, you probably have a little bit more, what I'm trying to say. You have a little more of a, you can visualize better what I'm working on right now. And it's really, you can do this only when your paint is like in that stage of semi-dry. I don't want to say even a semi-dry, when it feels that it's starting to dry. I don't know if it's recommended by restorators to do things like this, but then, you know, people from restoration department are really awesome, but sometimes they can be, how would I put this? I really follow most of their advices, but then, you know, sometimes you want to create a new kind of a, you know, you can have a little bit of enjoyment in painting, and they are really can destroy that fun, because they're like, no, why you have to grind your own pigment, then you have to put, you know, 1 drop of oil into that, because then painting is going to do this and that. Well, I know. But if I do everything perfect, what are you going to do as a restorator then? You wouldn't be needed. So me painting this way is giving a little bit of more work to restorators if these paintings ever will survive, I don't know, 50, 100 years. If I don't decide to repaint them, because I will need a larger canvas for something else, which happens a couple times. So I'm cleaning it up, and it's not like I would just be scraping everything around. I'm just pushing that paint around because I want that texture on some places, and I want a clean, smooth, continuous paint application on other. And right now I'm trying to connect these portraits. So they're not exactly the same in terms of paint application, but I'm trying to get them close to each other. This guy is way more experimentational, I would say. You see, some of them, you can even hear it, that some of that paint I'm trying to get rid of, and I'm exploring what layers, you know, because sometimes when I'm scraping it, I can't really control which layer I'm going to scrape down, and that again creates these another happy accidents. So this is that very the main idea behind me painting this way. I really enjoy these surprises, and then if there is something that I really like, I will keep it there, and then if there is something that I don't like, I can always repaint it, or paint over it rather. But you have to be aware of that. It's a really time-consuming technique to use, because you have to work with that, you know, with these drying times of pigments, and you have to be aware of that. You know, certain pigments dry very, very slow, and certain pigments dry really, really fast. Good example would be my burnt umber, or raw umber rather, dries really quickly. If compared to, I don't know, like titanium white, but if I add a little bit of that raw umber into my titanium white dries incrementally faster. It's almost like I can see sometimes drying it on the palette overnight, that it's completely dry, and I have to actually scrape it with the razor. It's still wet. Underneath. The only problem that I have is that I forgot to buy a gloves. Let me see if I have some hidden in the back of the studio, or in my backpack maybe. Yep. I have some in the backpack. Cool. Let me take a sip of a tea, because I'm talking too much again. Why don't I just shut up, right? And let you paint in peace. The funny thing is that we talked about that, you know, going out for a plein air, and today it's just this is one of those moments when you get out and it's cold outside. Is it around 10 degrees Celsius, maybe 9 degrees Celsius, and it's just blue sky, that, you know, that blue dome that it's that works as a secondary light. It's hitting these shadows. They are blue as they can get. It's just amazing. I wanted to go and paint outside that blue shadows, because that's something that will throw you off. If you are not used to painting plein air, that will throw you off. Suddenly, like the color harmonies are not working, because you're used to, you know, these warm neutral shadows, and suddenly everything is blue, purples. It's amazing. Beautiful, beautiful weather outside. Luckily, I have an excuse because I'm sick. Oh, awesome. So let's check that out. Let's check out those I need to open my library. Yeah, I think I should continue working on this portrait right here because it still doesn't feel right. And instead of right now just, you know, painting everything over again, I created mosaic, like really, I should probably take pictures of these and probably post them. So you can see, you can better see what I'm talking about. Or maybe, you know, I'll do bed painting Friday digital, and you know, we can talk about these adjustments that I'm doing. And what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to dry brush the pigment on top. So instead of, and this is the technique that we talk about when you ask me about my pigments. My pigments were sitting 2 days. I wasn't touching them, and they're slightly drier than when you put them out of the tube. The process of drying started, so the application is going to be they are going to how would I put this, it's really going to be a dry brush. It would be like if you squeeze your paints on the paper towels, so they really gonna work in pasto, and I'm going to again sculpt the brush strokes there rather than just applying a paint. So I'm thinking, yeah, I'll probably start with that other portrait, with this guy right here. But I like the head right now a little bit more, the cap that he is wearing. I still have problems with the symmetries on his face, because I think that if this is the direction, eyes, this is okay, a nose is wrong slightly, and then mouth are completely off. So I have to, not completely off, but the corner of the mouth, they don't feel symmetrical. Or actually, it feels like it's on the one side, everything is going this direction. I'm just going to, I couldn't find the proper word for that. No, of course you can talk and write as much as you please, because this is, remember, this is a painting discourse. The problem is that, you know, when I'm right here focusing on the painting, my computer is there, so I can't read all your comments, but I really appreciate them. Well, you know what? If you're not ready for winter, you might not be a winter person actually, because I can't wait to get, you know, to see first snow, so I can go out and do a little skiing, little ski alping, or how is it called? Cross country skiing, whatever they call that. When you don't use those lifts, but you know you walk up to hill and then you ski down to the mountain. I really enjoyed it. I loved it. So I'm really a winter person. So probably I should move to Canada or Alaska. All right, let me just clean a little bit more. Yeah. And let me get my reference. I think I need something a little more, something a little better. Yeah. And maybe I should move, maybe the shadow. Oh yeah, I see it right now. Okay, like the shadow needs to be slightly different, because not only I moved his head, but then because I'm working from imagination, I moved the shadow the way that the sun is shining this way. So even though his face is still tilted, it still doesn't look believable. So perhaps before I start with dry brush, I will adjust shadows a little bit. Yeah, let's adjust the shadows a little bit. And since I have a darker shadows, I'm going to make them a little lighter. You see the yellow ochre is already in that kind of a drying stage on my palette, so I'll have to squeeze more of the yellow ochre. Right. And you know, let's talk about the shadows a little bit, since I'm working with the shadows. There is a general idea about shadows, and that they're supposed to be transparent. And then once you lay them down, you shouldn't touch them anymore. Well, yes, but here's the thing. What if you need to change something? What would you do? That's kind of one of those philosophical questions. What would you do if you don't like the position for the shadows? Well, you probably repaint them, but then you'd be thinking that, oh, but you know, then I don't have a transparency of the shadow, right? Because it's not transparent anymore. Well, you can create that transparency by painting it. And I am actually, not that I am convinced, I saw it when I was painting a copy of Rembrandt. That was part of the program, and I was allowed to paint in the museum next to actual Rembrandt painting. And you are alone in the museum because it's during the hours when the museum was closed. So early morning from 7 to I think like 9:30 we were working, and then on Mondays when the museums are closed the whole day, so you could be like this with the Rembrandt, and you can just all adjust it because all the how would I put this? Like, there was no one who would actually, you know, you couldn't touch it, of course, because I wouldn't even dare to do it. But you know, you could be like all this close, and you were examining every little change. I believe that he actually painted into his shadows a lot, and then glazed on top of it, just for adjustments purposes. And it is, I don't know, maybe it was just because of the veil of or layer of dirty varnish, but I felt like he actually painted the shadows the way he wanted them, maybe even a little lighter, and then glaze on top of them, and get to that kind of a coherent feel of a shadows. And when we talk about transparent shadows, he painted it with the actual background pigment, right? So let's say that he painted on the red surface, or reddish, brownish reddish surface. So he painted it with the reddish brownish pigment there, adjust all the shadows with the value that he needed, and then he could glaze on top of it. So it felt like, oh, it was just, he set it up from the beginning like that, because then it gets the same depth that you have a one pigment that it's actually sitting on top of another pigment. So I'm going to do a similar thing. I'm just going to adjust these shadows. I'm going to make them slightly lighter and a little bit more vibrant. Only because I'm not going to put the full power of that pigment. I'm not going to be painting opaquely. It's still a little bit of transparency. So as that will dry, that will get slightly darker. This is way too dark. So I'm going to grab a little bit of and it might feel strange to put such a warm pigment there, but if you have a dark shadows and you put this warmer pigment there, it's just going to slowly bond together. It's going to be that kind of a visual mixing that we talked about before. Oh, way better. Okay, there we go. There we go. So I'm going to adjust that a little bit, that dark shadow. Because some of these shadows are way too dark, and they would never get that dark. And it's just creating kind of like unwanted contrast there. So let's connect this. Because from a distance I can tell that it's a shadow, but it's a lighter and it's way more believable. It's starting to be, it's becoming that, you know, a little bit more transparent. And again, I'm not sure whether or not this is what Rembrandt was doing. It's just from that, you know, I spent how many hours there? 50 to 70 hours, maybe even more. And on that painting, and I really had a chance to work from the original, which is always a preferable method to work from a original than from the copy. But you know, still, if you can't go to museum and work from original, by all means, don't waste your time waiting for that, you know, waiting for the fact that museum is going to invite you to paint there. I guess you might be again not happy with the results then. So I'm softening these dark shadows. And again, I am kind of glazing that lighter color there because I want to create a difference between shadow hierarchy. Yeah, there are really dark shadows that are here that I know that it would never get a light there because that's that occlusion that we talked about. But if I push this shadow or this shadow right here, that dark, as I think that it would take away from the portrait. And when you look at the Rembrandt's work again, you know, we're going to go back and forth to Rembrandt, is that you can really see it there. You can really see it there. He really prioritize certain shadows, and he's prioritizing the shadows in terms of composition. At least that's how I see it. That, you know, like he move your eye around, you jumping from one beautiful shape to another, the way that he wants you to, without you even noticing it, which is really powerful. Extremely dark shadows I put right here, and if you have, you know, these shadows so dark, then your values, you're trying to turn the form from the dark shadow into a light, and everything is kind of a dark then. it works well as a nice kind of a contrast, but then and again, I'm not repainting this painting, I am adjusting existing painting, right? Remember that, because then you might run into those issues with making the same painting over and over again and being unhappy with the result. And softening it, yes. This is going to be a shadow right here underneath that nose. Let me push this a little bit more. So I'm really, right now, what I'm doing, I'm kind of, because it felt that it's all disconnected, so I'm trying to connect these pigments together with a little bit of, with a little help of glazing and then also dry brushing. Okay, so I need to slowly turn that form there. Cool. And I have him closer and closer to the position where I like to have it. Get a little darker value. So correct this a little bit. Just creating a little halftone there, so I'll give him more of a definition, not more definition, a little bit more detail around the focal point of his face. And again, you can stay in this stage forever. And again, even though I'm in this stage right here, where I'm putting more and more details there, these details are always about to help that overall, they're always here to help overall believability that this is a portrait. So I'm still thinking about adjusting anatomy, adding more and more information, like for instance right now in the forehead, because I have my skull right here next to me, so I'm trying to create a little bit more. And not only a skull, I also have a Rembrandt here, and I can see him doing it. And I can right now hit it with lighter values. Like with really, really super saturated pigment. It's going to be almost like out of the place right now, but that's okay. And also, you know, right now I'm varying the temperatures. I don't know if you call temperatures the saturation. So that the forehead, it's leaning towards light yellowish pigment. The cheeks are, you know, warmer because I believe, well, I'm thinking about that they are, you know, a little bit burned by the sun. So they are going to be redder, light towards the red pigment. And then I have a area right here where usually we have that, you know, light pigment turning more towards the green. And green, maybe green neutral, green blue, because of the beard, specifically with the male male models. So I'm thinking about, oh, my layer that it's right here, it's warm reddish, right? So the moment I'll start add a white, it's going to turn into pink, and I don't want that. So I will bring and introduce slightly different slightly adjusted pigment. And these are extremely small adjustments, like really, really small adjustments. And you wouldn't even be able to see them because it's one small unit, they are not working. But when you start adding it to a whole portrait, that suddenly you'll see the benefit of these adjustments. And I'm making, you know, conscious decisions. This is not like like I would randomly. Let me just. It's because of the anatomy, so I'll just keep it here. And I'm thinking about. I'm looking at how my skull is lit right now. And I don't know if you can see that. Okay. And I'm looking, oh, this is the area where the globula is, right? So I'm looking at these protrusions right here, these bony parts that they're sticking and they're catching a lot of light, right? So I have a kind of a dark value on mid-tone right here and then really light area as the bone is protruding. But I would be very careful because if this is closer to me, it's going to be lighter than this part right here because I want to show the form it's coming away from me. So I wouldn't over lighten them because that's not going to create a flat image. So in my portrait, the lightest area, it's right here, right around here. This is where the full contrast is going to happen. And as it goes down, because I'm curving the form from so when you, how would I describe this? Well, this would be the eye, or the area right here would be the corner the closest to me, if I were to think um, about the portrait as a cube, so that would be the closest point to me, right here. That means the most contrast are going to be right here, and everything else that goes away in the perspective, whichever angle, whichever direction I choose, it's going to have a less and less contrast and less details. A little richer pigment right now. Yep, this is really the pigment that I'm looking for, or the consistency of a pigment that I'm looking for. I want to finish that corner of the mouth, perfect. And right now I need and you can see that I'm mixing similar values. Because I want you to see the difference in hue and temperature rather than a shift in the value. Because the transition is really small. But I still want to create the transition there, but I don't want to create that kind of a actual visible step. doesn't. So it still shows the. Turn off the form. But it doesn't overpower the area where the eyes are, where the most focus I want to be. And whenever I do these adjustments, I have to remind myself that careful, because you are making it very much about the values, and you're kind of forgetting a color or a hue. So it's everything. It's kind of feel desaturated. Slower transition there. Cool, nice. So everything right now, what I'm trying to do is actually to really focus on that, on every aspect every that's not the aspect, on every let me think what I'm trying to describe right now. Every attribute of the pigment, right? So I'm thinking about the opacity, I'm thinking about saturation, and I'm thinking about value. Together with paint application, direction of the brush, and then, you know, on top of everything, you can see me going back and forth, whether this portrait actually works together with the whole painting, or is it just a standalone portrait. So I corrected that proportions a little bit. I corrected a symmetry as well, and I edited that portrait a little bit more to make him a little slimmer, but I still feel that it's more on one side than the other. Okay. So let me grab this. Let me bring darker value here. Cool. So it goes into a background. So it's closer to background, or the transition between background and foreground is not as abrupt or sharp. A little bit of that on the side of the nose. A little bit more. Okay, a little bit more of the half tone, because I'm really trying to push it even further. Okay, and I need a little bit of this is the eye. This is where the mouth ends. I think I made the opening for the mouth a little too short on this side, and that means that this should be moved a little bit more here. Okay, well, that might be the problem. Cool, cool, cool. The center point of the mouth was in the wrong position, and again it was due to that shadow. So I was thinking about this, but he's also it's not only about the tilt, but the orientation. It's kind of tricky for that portrait. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. How come I couldn't see this before? What's wrong with me? So what I did was that since this is the angle, I put everything on the one line, right, as you would, but I was not thinking about the nose. It's actually protruding forward, right? So it cannot be directly underneath. It needs to be accounted for that if it's no three-dimensionally in perspective, if it's sticking out, it cannot be on the one line as the point where the glabella meets the nose. And that forced me to kind of adjust everything like in kind of this way, because the center points were off. Now we figured it out. And we can start adjusting it properly. And the problem was that, you know, I was compensating for that on the other side. Whereas I should, since I was thinking that that center point is in the wrong spot, I was adding more and more here to compensate for that. Whereas I should just move the center point here and adjust the other corner. See, it's working. Being sick is just immediate bonus. Well, now we're talking. Ta-da! Well, you know, probably the only person in the world that is happy to being sick, because his sickness, I'm speaking about myself in the third person. It's funny. My sickness, it actually is making me being a better painter. And then, you know, how can you say that life is not beautiful? If even the sickness, it plays towards your advantages. Cleaner pigment. There is transition between the redness of the cheek and yep, finally the redness of the cheek and I can't make it that round. It has to be a little. A little sharper lines or sharper facial features because it's a male, and by pushing the jaw a little more angular, it's kind of helping that feel. So I'm going to keep it angular. So I have to be careful with that modeling of the form. That'd give me a chance to push this a little bit more here, which I was really hoping for. Yep. So that would. Yep, finally. Another blind painting session because it's dark. Well, you know, I was just talking about me being sick and my painting and my adjustments are getting more and more accurate. Same goes for you as you know, it's getting darker and darker, so your adjustments they have to be more and more precise as the time progresses. Or you have to do what I did actually lately. I decided to wake up earlier. So I could address this issue in me. Because I usually I'm not really a morning person. Well, I'm lying. It's not that I'm not a morning person. I'm lazy to wake up. Let's be honest. I'm lazy to wake up, and I think that was the problem. And there still is a problem with me. I don't want to wake up early morning. But then I have to say there is nothing better than being first in the studio. And it's nothing better to be first in your own studio. That's just, that's even better. Okay, I'm repainting this. Yeah, I know, that's just, I know, that's why my, that's why my apartment's a mess. I'm serious, I'm not even, I know that you guys are not believing me, but it is. Trust me, it is. It's just, you know. Okay, let's make him a little slightly younger because he felt this is too old. So I'm softening these. Yeah, but I finally corrected that mouth, which was driving me crazy. It's still driving me crazy, but I have to move it a little bit more. From this corner, so let's do that. Let's reach into these darker, cooler pigments. Yeah, definitely high five for a messy apartment, right? It's awesome. I know. Well, you know, I am prioritizing. Luckily, I live alone, so you know, no one really cares. But I was wondering if, you know, like parents show up unannounced just to visit. They have a keys from the apartment. They can just enter, you know. Oh, that would be. I think that would be. I think that I think that they opinion about me would change. Not that they are, you know, oblivious to me being a messy person, but or not. I'm not. I wouldn't say that I'm messy. I'm just lazy to do that. But that would be a disaster. Right? Everybody has that feeling that, you know, his private messy life is going to be exposed to to people that are closest to him or her, to them. But you know, I just, at least right now, I have an excuse. I'm telling them that no, I have to be here. I have to paint. So you know, I have a couple adjustments that I did throughout my, let's call it adult life. And the first was adjusting my laundry. So I have only dark clothes. And by dark, I mean black. And then I have white. And that's the only two, only two pigments that I use. So I know that every week I have one dark laundry and one light laundry, and just, you know, that's it. No more good looking, fashionable. It's just all catered to minimum effort in terms of well, you know what, I stopped trying. That's what it is. I completely stopped trying. And you know, it was difficult the first day or two, because people are looking at you weird. But then everybody get used to it in the school. They were like, you have only one t-shirt and one pants? No, I have 20 of them, but they are all the same. I bought them at one. I bought them, you know, step by step, in one store that I go to, and that's it. They have no. I know that they are okay. I know that they are fairly. Fairly comfortable for the price, and that's all I need. Yeah, it's just you know, I don't really, you know, I remember in the school, especially when you are, you know, in your 20s, you just want to look good, and then, you know, I was like, okay, well, something has to give at one point. And this was it. This was it. And it's also since I used to live in the United States, it was way cheaper than, you know, have the you have these different loads. Like you have a color, you have a delicate, you have this and that kind of a temperature. Nope. Everything at once, because these are basically the same ones. And I hope that you guys are not hearing the construction next door, because it's getting crazy. Well, you're absolutely right. Worrying about what you're wearing. Well, you know what? It actually saves me a half an hour of sleeping in the morning because I didn't. I don't need to think about what I'm going to dress. it's just one option, so it's pretty easy to choose from. Okay, let me just. I don't know what are they doing. Can you guys hear that annoying noise? Construction noise, or it's just me? And I perfectly set up the microphones. You have to hear this. That's ridiculous. I can't even hear myself. Okay, let me just add a little bit more detail. Or not detail, a little bit more contrast. And then we can continue having fun with other parts of the painting. Okay, mouth are corrected successfully. Well, they're not perfect, but at least they're not disproportional right now. Let me double check that with the mirror of truth. Yep. 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 Let me just finish this center of the. Okay, it seems that it's cut out right now a little too much, but that's okay because this needs to go a little bit more into the background. Okay, that's awesome. Since you are not bothered by that or you can't hear it, that's perfect. That's perfect. And I can't even imagine reading the live caption from my voice in English. That has to be a puzzle on its own, actually. Okay, right now it seems that it's in the right, maybe just a little bit. I should probably push it a little bit more from this side. Okay, so. Maybe if I shave it from this side a little bit. Yep. Way better. Okay, so I need to mix that pigment that it's his clothes. A little bit more of a saturation. How close I am. Oh, I hit it on the first try. Really? See? Being sick. It's just can't even believe that I hit it on the first try. What sorcery is this? And then soften that edge a little bit. Cool. And then darken this part. And we're good with the correcting of mouth. Yep, finally. I didn't know what's going on there, and I was really bothered and annoyed by that since the moment I entered the studio. Yeah, I was really, really bothered by that. And right now I finally fixed it. So, yeah. Like I said, the only person who who is happy to be sick at this point. It's the way how to turn things around, right? And you know what? I didn't even want to come today to studio. I was thinking that I'm just going to stay at home in the bed watching some movies or some TV shows. Can you believe that? But then again, you know, painting is really something that I really, really like to do. Yeah, nice, nice, nice. I'm really satisfied with that correction. It's not exactly what I wanted to be as a portrait, but I was again making these adjustments in the wrong place. And this is something that, you know, I talked about previously about that fact that, you know, there is so many ways to approach the problem that you have, right? So if the problem is here, it does not necessarily mean that you have to start changing this. Perhaps surrounding areas are the problem. Perhaps the problem is right here that bothers you because maybe this is not developed enough, or it's developed a little too much compared to the portrait, and that's what breaking that illusion of three-dimensional space. It's really, really important to test these theories. And on the last session when I was painting specifically to this fragment, I made the wrong decision. I was trying to to be frank and to be honest with myself and with you as well, is that the problem was that on the center line of the portrait, let me just grab this. I don't know if you, yeah, on the center line on the portrait, I might go closer. You know, the center line that goes right here, I assign these center points in the perspective. They did not align, and I didn't realize that. And I was basing all my symmetry off of a wrong first fundamental measurements, which shifted everything. So, as I mentioned, it felt like his jaw was disconnected and it was moving to a wrong direction. And you know what? Not only that, you might have seen me going back and forth at the beginning during the preparation, and I was staring into a book, and I have a portrait opened right here. Again, Rembrandt, and it's a girl at a window, and she is in very similar tilt than my portrait is. And I just looked, and I thought to myself that how am I going to adjust it? What would Rembrandt do? You know, WWRD. What would Rembrandt do? I used him as a guide. I used him as as another additional help in these adjustments. So I didn't want it to go again into just painting and painting and painting and painting and not being satisfied with what I see. But rather I took a step back, I analyzed the mistake, and I think that the part that I mentioned, that I'm sick, I was sick with it. Why is it not working the way that I want to? So I applied all the possible how would I say every knowledge that I have to fix it. And the problem was at the beginning. It was fundamental problem with assigning to a proper I didn't line up the center points properly for the nose, for the glabella, for the tip of the nose. I'm sorry, for the mouth, and for the beard, for the chin, and it all went. It all went wrong from there. You're absolutely right with the center line, that it's really difficult sometimes to keep, you know, you're focusing on modeling the form, the expression, the overall feeling in the painting, and then, you know, something as simple, as fundamental as center line that, you know, we talked about when it comes to painting and proportions and anatomy, to the point that you don't even want to hear the center line. I remember when I was in the art school, when my teacher at the beginning come to studio all the time and tell me, check your center line. I thought that I'm just going to lose all of my hair. That's how mad I was. What center line? Everything is in the center line. It cannot be more center. So yeah, center lines. And the problem is that, you know, when you paint and you paint for a long time, the same spot, you really get into that, you know, over-focused view that you can't judge even these simple things correctly. It's just your eye. It's your eye and your brain is biased to a certain direction. And not only that, remember I talked about that I can make a better directional lines this way than this way when I draw, only because that's the other way around. This is more natural motion for me than this one is for my shoulder, right? So that's what adds to these problems with the compositions, that I am compensating for that this is easier for me to draw, so everything going into the same direction. And I have to be aware of that, otherwise there is no way out from that. Okay, so portrait is set right now. I'm going to leave it as it is because there are other problems that I have to address before I go further with the portrait. And maybe I could attack the book today because I kind of feel that the book would, but I didn't decide on what to do with that book. And by what I didn't decide, I'm not sure whether I want to keep it really simple and basic and just with the first letter of the alphabet that they brought and the language, or should I just really go, because they actually translated a couple books into that new language, and the first of them, of course, was the Bible. So if I should just write that Bible in that Cyrillic or Hlaholika as they call it at the beginning. Or Staroslovenčina, maybe it's even better. Even more precise, but I don't know how to translate this into English. I'm sorry. You have to Google that. thing that bothers me a little bit, it's, remember remember last time I was painting right here where the elbow is, and I made him really saturated, and right now I'm going to knock him down a little bit because he's kind of, or maybe I'm, you know what? No, I'm going to keep that monk on the side ultra saturated only because I want to see how far I can push the other pigments. After all, this is a test painting, right? So let's push it. Let's push it, and let's bring more saturation to these guys, even more saturation to these front figures, because I think that they deserve that. Another thing that I realized is that I made this opening super super symmetrical. You know what's funny? That if I wanted to create the ellipse this good, I wouldn't be able to. What is this sorcery again? I'm just looking at it right now, and I don't know if I wanted that ellipse so good, I wouldn't be able to make it. You know, like for those of you who ever painted any cup or any cylindrical shape, I'm pretty sure that you are aware of ellipses and how annoying they are. Man, this painting. It's probably teaching me more about myself than I am willing to accept. Which is a good thing, but you know, it's really hard to accept certain things. Let's make a nice shape right here for that. Okay, so let me switch to two drapery examples then, since I just realized that mistake. Not mistake, but you know what I mean. That drapery problem, because these are all kind of defined, and I don't want to say definite, but you know, very close to be finished. They just really need a polish, and me really being sure what I want to do with them. And this is just a really soft value that it's unfinished there, and it's not supposed to be. So let me just open really. Yep. Yep, let's do that. Let's do that. Actually, right now I realized one thing, that for if you are the thing that I was talking about at the beginning about the portrait, and you know how the paint it's kind of layering and it's over each other. You can actually check it, and it's probably the best visible what I'm talking about when you look at your palette, or even mine. I'll try to zoom this in. So it's the similar principle as the old paint, old pigment. It's actually connecting between the different hues, right? So it's that kind of a connection, because from a distance they're kind of blend to each other, and they go from one value to another. That's a similar principle, actually. I was just cleaning the palette, and I realized that it's very similar to the effect that I'm creating with the portrait. A little bit more organized, though, or organized into a or arranged. These abstract shapes are arranged into a that familiar object that we call portrait, or face, for that matter, rather. So let me would this be a good, I'm looking for a good bristle brush that would okay, so a little lighter values here. It's gonna go down, and I did not want it to go lower than this part is somewhere around here. Maybe I could connect it, maybe, I don't know. But you know what? I have an idea. Perhaps this might work. Let's try that. Yeah, let's try it. Okay. So let me grab a little, kind of a charcoal value, because it's still wet, so I don't want to go there with the charcoal. Let's adjust it so it's going this way. And I can push it all the way here. I can switch here. That's going to be a point. And that's going up, directly up. Is this going to work? I think it might. And then I'll show this as it's going over, or maybe not even that, it's just like bunching right here. And I could connect it with this right here. And then up there, and from, okay, well, let's try this. Yeah, let's see what's gonna happen here. Let us see. And then slightly here, different angle, and here. then they're going to, no, they're going to end up on the same point. So I have to, I'm trying to right now, what I'm doing, I am trying to design a nice kind of an opening for the sleeve. So it's in the right position, and it's interesting value to, interesting shape to look at, not just a, you know, just a regular opening. And again, why am I doing it? Because check out whatever Rembrandt you want, and he really, really, really knows how to do this. If there is something that I really, something that I haven't figured out yet, it's how he creates these beautiful differences in the texture, or not even differences, yeah, differences in texture, in terms of like these different textures are creating different fabrics or different materials. And I have no idea how is he doing it yet. Well, I know that it has something to do with edges, of course, values, of course, but there is something that, because you can, you know, you can learn how to paint fabric, you can learn how to paint folds, you can learn how to paint, you know, all these intricate details, but then it's like every one of us can learn how to play on violin or on piano. I doubt that if I start learning piano right now, I would be a Rachmaninoff. I doubt that. And that's a similar idea. I can be a very good piano player, don't get me wrong, but there is something that the little bit of that, he knows that, how would I put this? I don't want to say necessarily that, well, let me put it this way. If there is something, something like a talent, and we would talk about talent. Talent is not knowing how to paint. I think that that's the talent when you can really design, first of all, compose beautifully, and then design within that composition. Because your eye really has to be, I mean, you have to be able to observe so much information and translate it to a canvas and then reproduce it on two-dimensional surface rather than just a canvas. It's mind-blowing when I'm looking at his work. And that's why I really, I know that Rembrandt is very popular and everybody loves Rembrandt, but I think that Rembrandt is loved among the painters precisely because of this. So much mystery in the way how he observes things and how he think about how he tackles the problem. And if there is something that, you know, that will, you know, help your painting or help your art, it's to really look for these adjustments, really tiny adjustments in every shape. So you don't have that, you know, I don't want to say that, because these adjustments are not random. They're all conscious. I'm making a conscious decisions how I want you to move through how I want your eye move through the painting. These are all conscious decisions, but then there is a little bit of something when I have a feeling that maybe this direction would be better. And when I'm looking at Rembrandt's painting, and right now I'm looking at a girl leaning on a stone sill. It's just, and I have to go to London to see this one. It's a different. It's in the Dulwich Picture Gallery. I have to go to see it in real life, because the way how he created the folds, how interesting they are, and how he created the hands as well, and it all works together as one shape, and then every other design element that he adds to it evolves that painting so much more, or push that painting so much more forward in terms of execution. It would be probably good if he didn't create any fold, because that pose, it's beautiful, it's beautifully composed. That light value against the dark value, so good. And I'm not talking about the dark and light and shadow. I'm talking about light value against dark value, or white against black. Huh. I guess here's the thing. I don't want to. No, I'm not going to say that. I have a flu, and that's enough. I was thinking about how sick I have to be to actually get to that